Okay, so let's maybe just run through. I mean, I guess we could start with the version 1.5 stuff. But particularly, I think everyone's already would have read the article, but if they hadn't, they could. We could maybe spend this time talking about things that are up and coming on the design side. We could talk about, I alluded to this at the very end of the thread. We could talk about that Arbitrum quote now going off on our own internal SOR. So many things we could talk about, honestly.
Well, I guess with the Arbitrum thing, it's our smart order router is not doing all the work.
Yeah, what was it?
Well, I think what's important is that we're working towards a smart order router that will actually route orders, trades to DEXs, whereas today we're only sizing the order using the beginnings of that SOR algo. So we're collecting all the data, we're doing the analytics, we're essentially figuring out a path. Basically, the smart order router is used for sizing right now, which is just using historical volume and trades to figure out paths between tokens and then sampling DEXs on chain to get liquidity in real time. That's essentially what we're doing. The next phase of that is to actually then turn that into an actual route to call individual DEXs. And we're not too far off.
That's pretty cool.
And the changes we're making on the smart contract side will accommodate what Matt is putting together, so that we'll basically roll out a whole new suite of contracts with support for our own router and other cool features that we're excited about but can't really talk about. In order for us to get to market the fastest as a DEX aggregator, we essentially use 0x and their API to route orders to liquidity that 0x supports. And what we found over time is that some quotes from 0x are not optimal. 1inch finds routes that 0x doesn't know about. We've even found routes internally that 0x doesn't know about if we look directly on UniV3, for example, or Sushi. So we decided a few months back to start working on our own smart order router natively, so that we can essentially wean ourselves away from 0x. And that's essentially what we've been doing for the last few months. And what we rolled out this week is the first iteration of that, which is just use the data we have and the sort of the route finding algorithms that we've developed to size the order, to figure out what's the optimal input size for a large order. The next iteration of that now is to take the routes that we find and actually encode them so that we submit them on chain, which ultimately replaces everything that 0x does.
Yeah, today, internally, I guess you could say we sort of operate in a similar fashion to the meta aggregator that you mentioned, Mitch. One of the differences is we don't expose all of the different paths that we've evaluated in trying to properly size the order and route the order. So on Arbitrum, for example, we may use 0x, or we may go directly to UniV3. And then, of course, we have our internal sizing algorithm that Matt's been working on. But we have our I guess, first iteration of sizing versus the internal smart order router sizing, and both of those are evaluated, so we can compare the results and make sure that we're giving you the best possible size estimate for the order, and we're taking the best route that we have access to today, whether it's directly through Uniswap or through 0x, and in the future it'll also evaluate our internal routing. So I guess internally we sort of do this meta aggregation. It's just all tucked away from the user experience. We're just trying to give them the best possible outcome.
Maybe you could define how you actually compare quotes in real time. Like what do you get back? Is that a piece of data? Are you getting the output amount at a specific time? And how would you even define what meta aggregation is?
So when a user requests a quote, we ultimately kick off a series of quotes in parallel on the back end. And we pull back all of those quotes, and then we evaluate essentially which path is going to produce the most output. Whichever token they're trading out, we look at how do we find the most output for that particular token. We have a lot of redundancy built into the logic to do retries if a quote fails for some reason, or if they're taking too long. Sometimes we have to time out a quote. It's a bit of a balancing act between to basically make it as resilient as possible. But I have a dashboard that runs 24/7 that I'm staring at as I'm working most of the day to keep an eye on how that's tuned, if there's any issues that we need to look into. A lot of this, a lot of the challenge is related to RPC calls. Just in this ecosystem, when you're making a lot of requests to RPC endpoints, it produces results that sometimes you get timeouts, sometimes you get calls that fail, you try again, and it works just fine even from the same node providers. It's definitely something that isn't, fully mature at this point. But it makes for interesting technical problems. So
That's one of the reasons we exist, because Web3
Yep.
is hard.
So what's the next couple steps in terms of what you'll be doing on or like how you'll be spending your time to see the thing come to life? Like how are you and Matt balancing roles right now, and kind of like working together as a team on it?
I think the next focus for me, I have two things on my plate. Right now, we've heavily focused on Arbitrum, getting internal smart order routed to work really well with Arbitrum. But we need to expand to all of the other networks we're on. So yesterday, I've been working on basically the way we ingest data, our data ingest pipeline for different networks, trying to balance the number of requests we make and optimize a few things to reduce bandwidth. Once all of those changes are deployed, then I'm going to be able to turn on data ingest for some of the other networks that we haven't turned it on for yet. So that's my primary focus right now, is on the data ingest side. After that's squared away, I'm going to switch my focus over to improving our internal aggregator. So there's a few changes that I know we're going to need to make when we start running routes through our internal smart order router. So I want to get ahead of that and make sure that those are ready when Matt's ready to turn on routing. So that's my focus short term. Matt could probably talk a little bit more about where he's focused. His work's a little bit more exciting.
Yeah, what I'm focused on is the actual router contract right now, and getting all the routes that we generate through the smart order router, testing them, actually getting them on chain, making sure that we're capable of providing swaps from as many different sources of liquidity as we can. And so there's a lot of that goes into just working through it, testing 1,000 times, testing 1,000 different swaps, make sure that nothing's being leaked, that the routes that we're creating are accurate and are doing what we want them to do.
How do you test for, I mean, you don't have to go into specific details because obviously that's our secret sauce, but maybe at a high level, how do you test accuracy? Like, what do you compare against? Are you just looking at what exists in the market and then seeing what our output is on each of those tests?
Yeah, so generally, like you can calculate like what the output would be like given a state on chain fairly easily. And then you can also go to other aggregators and see like, are we in line? Are we better? Are we 10,000 times worse?
What is it? I mean, like it must be pretty difficult to just constantly be looking at these numbers as you're crunching them out. Yeah.
Sure. I like looking at numbers, so it's fine with me. Great thing about math is that for the most part, everything should work out. If it doesn't, you're doing something wrong.
Okay, so how about we talk about stuff that's happening on the front end? Rafa, maybe you even want to talk about everything that's happened over the last version. If you want to talk through some of the highlights, what's coming up next? Maybe something you're excited by.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so what's coming is we are trying to make it prettier, of course, but trying to simplify the amount of data that is displayed in the cockpit view. And also we have, so this is like more like a simplifying work we are doing. But what I'm excited about is more in the order logs part. We want to display a chart explaining to the user where telling more of the story of his order, when the rounds was executed, and displaying the price, and then the spots where his rounds of his order were executed. So it's going to be more graphical, and of course I want to do it in a very smooth way with kind of cool effects. So yeah, really excited about that. And yeah, because we all know that front end in Web3 apps is it's very tough. So especially because everything regarding the connecting the wallet, all the steps is something that for the moment we cannot avoid, and it can be pretty hard for users. So because we have that, all the rest have to be perfect and very clear, very nice. So yeah, I'm very focusing on having a better version, proper, smoother, with nice effects, and yes, this graphical part.
How are you thinking about actually implementing the chart? Is that going to be, do you have like a front end library in mind? How much is already built on, or can you play with already on that side to translate things?
Yeah, when I was doing my research in which library I was going to use, I tested the rechart library. This one was definitely my best option, I think, because it's one of the most powerful with big amount of data, with manipulating big amount of data, and the effects when the chart is appearing, everything is already included and pretty nice. And I tested it, including it in the cockpit view to see if we were able to get the data where if the user were at some point clicking on the graph to set prices. So I decided to go with this library, and now I'm reshaping the order logs, and I'm planning to add it in the middle, kind of the markup you provide us. Nothing to show for the moment, but very soon I will show you something.
I was talking with Crypto Snooper, who's this, he looks for airdrops and all that sort of stuff. He describes himself as he isn't a TA trader, but he likes to analyze swings and trends to manage his entry and exit in positions. I don't know how, I thought TA literally was that, but anyways, he may actually be someone that's very interested in giving this chart a try. I feel like a lot of people end up using DEX Screener, potentially the CoinGecko terminal, trading view. There might be DEX tools. I don't know if Parsec is still around, but those would be like where you're going for DeFi charts and analysis and all that sort of stuff. Be cool to maybe if there's a way to look up each one of those kind of charts and try to find some of the people that are posting those charts and seeing what they could replicate in our app. I know that there's a huge difference between having something in the cockpit and something that's in the order logs, but it's still cool to maybe get people excited about something on the front end. Also on the front end, total rework of the landing page coming up. I was talking about this with Mike, but yeah, all of the existing language, the materials pretty much speaks to third-party integrations and hedge funds, but it leaves out independent traders, individuals. Pro traders don't even realize it's an app for them. The interface that we show, we took the shortcut and decided to show the trade portal on the landing page instead of the app itself. So we're fixing that. Did you guys have a chance to take a look at the new design I put together? I don't remember if I shared it in the main chat, but I think it does a
Yeah.
lot better job of simplifying what we're all about.
Mhm.
I agree. I don't remember if it was in the main chat or somewhere else I saw a screenshot, but it looks really good. I'm looking forward to it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what I like is also from the screenshots or also the phrases I saw like in the decks you were sharing, the kind of the change of the advising phrases and everything. I think it's much more closer or more impactful. Yeah, like that.
So the other thing is, as I've been talking about, trying to get these help and academy pages live on the site. So that'll give us 3 forms of content on the Dexible website. The blog, which is going to be for product updates, team news, more perspectives. Then there's help articles, which is kind of it's going to be super similar to our documentation, frankly. Like I'm able to kind of copy and paste some things that we have in our documentation there. The Git books have not been super discoverable. I don't think that it's getting indexed the same way. So I'm hopeful that these help articles, first off, we can go into probably some more depth than on Git books. It's just maybe a better platform for that. The tagging is a little bit more intuitive. And then secondly, or thirdly, I guess there's this academy side, which is going to have educational pieces that are somewhat related to Dexible, but not Dexible intrinsic, that will talk about everything from basic DeFi to advanced topics to automated trading topics. It'll cover multiple different types of strategies, each of those being like tags. So there can be sub articles, meaning like whenever we find DeFi newsletter people, DeFi influencers just talking about their strategies, we can extract some of the ideas, concepts from those things and then create content around that. Just pushing people into our site, and each one of those links then becomes something that we can share out to the community. So it's like a more advanced way to get strategic insights that's not necessarily a Discord chat or a newsletter. I think it feels it's fitting. And we'll also cover topics of protocol design, probably tokenomics, governance, just because that's what people are interested in. But we are trying to rebrand Dexible, and in the process of that, create a new logo. I think everything else as far as our brand is pretty on point, but if we have a new logo, it can kind of, people will associate kind of the roadmap and all those items with the new logo and the new brand design. It's a good opportunity for us to get a lot of eyeballs. So I'm collecting logos that you guys like, whether that's other DeFi projects, any other crypto products, and then I'm condensing those influences into basically a response sheet that TokenC is going to push to one of their designers, I guess, in their network. So yeah, if you guys see stuff that you like, I'm working with it. Cool. Well, if you're a listener, thank you for coming to the call. we're going to be doing these more regularly, and there'll probably be webinars in the future, so we don't have random people just pop into the chat. Although it's hilarious, it's probably not conducive to a true conversation, a real good conversation. But yeah, we'll keep doing this and post them to all of our channels.